You'd think turning 18 would feel like freedom. Instead, my mother poured herself a glass of wine, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You were adopted. Out of pity. Like it was charity. Like I was a dog they pulled off the side of the road." My sister, perfect blonde, better than me in every way, smirked and said, "Well, you always were the spare part." I sat there frozen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood up, walked out the front door and kept walking until my feet were numb. That night, I made a promise. If they didn't want me as part of their story, fine. I'd write my own. The wind bit at my face as I walked through empty streets. Every step felt heavier than the last. 18 years of feeling like I didn't quite fit suddenly made sense. The cold birthday cakes. The forgotten school plays. The way my sister always got the spotlight while I got leftovers. But something didn't add up. If I was adopted, why did I look like my aunt? Why were there no baby photos until I turned 2? I needed answers. I'm Tessa. Up until that night, I thought I was just unloved. That maybe I wasn't good enough to be someone's favorite. Turns out I was never meant to be part of their family at all. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The way my mother's face twisted when she said pity. The satisfaction in my sister's voice. The silence from my father who just sat there staring at his plate like a coward. I crashed at my friend Maya's house that night. She didn't ask questions, just handed me blankets and leftover pizza. I lay awake on her couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my childhood. The missing photo albums. The way relatives avoided eye contact during holidays. My grandmother once slipping up and calling me the situation before quickly correcting herself. When morning came, I made a decision. I wasn't going to just accept their story. I needed proof. Why didn't they tell me sooner? I asked Maya over breakfast. He squeezed my hand. Maybe they never planned to tell you at all. That thought terrified me. But it also lit a fire inside me. I went to the county clerk. Then the state registrar. I even called the hospital where I supposedly was born. Nothing. No record of adoption. No birth certificate under my name for that year. It was like I didn't legally exist. The clerk at the county office squinted at her computer screen, clicked through databases, then shook her head. "Honey, there's no adoption filing here. You sure you got the right county?" "Oh, sure. I'd lived in this town my entire life." The hospital records department was even worse. "We have no record of a Tessa Morgan born here in that year. Are you certain about the date?" My birth certificate said March 15th. My parents celebrated it every year. Well, celebrated is a strong word. They acknowledged it with a grocery store cake and a card. That's when the panic gave way to something else. Curiosity. A terrifying kind of clarity. They weren't just hiding something, they were hiding me. So I bought a DNA test online. Saliva. Envelope. Done. And then I waited. Those 2 weeks felt like 2 years. 2 weeks later I got the results. There was a 50% match to my aunt. Not my mom. Not my dad. My aunt. I stared at that screen for a full 5 minutes before it clicked. She wasn't my aunt. She was my real mother. My hands shook as I scrolled through the data. The website showed family trees, genetic markers, health reports. But all I could see was that one number, 50%. Parent-child relationship. Aunt Clara. The quiet one who always brought me gifts on my birthday. Who hugged me a little too long. Who looked at me with sad eyes during family dinners. She wasn't my aunt. She was my mother. But that meant my parents knew. They'd lied for 18 years. Raised me as their own while knowing the truth. I clicked through more results. My father showed as my uncle. My mother showed as my aunt. Everything was backwards. Everything was a lie. I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers. I needed to hear it from her. I needed Clara to tell me the truth. I messaged her. I didn't ask, I told her. "I know. The DNA test says you're my mom." She called me 2 minutes later. Sobbing. "I wanted to tell you. They promised you'd be better off. They made me believe it was the right thing." They? My parents. Her brother. My uncle. My supposed dad. That's when she said the words that still make my skin crawl. "Tessa, your dad is him." The phone almost slipped from my hand. "What do you mean?" I whispered even though I already knew. "Your father is my brother. Your dad. Richard." The room spun. I sat down hard on Maya's couch, the phone pressed against my ear. We. It was a mistake," Clara choked out. One time. I was 19. He was married. I didn't know what to do. My stomach twisted. My father, biological and legal, had gotten his own sister pregnant. And I was the result. They took me in to hide the scandal. To bury the shame. They didn't adopt me out of pity. They stole me to cover their tracks. They paid you? I asked, my voice hollow. Clara went quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, not in cash. My father, biological and legal, helped her clear debts. Got her a job at his law firm. Bought her a car. Paid her rent for 5 years. She gave me up because they convinced her I'd have a better life. That a stable married couple could offer what a 19-year-old single mother couldn't. Instead, I was raised in a house where I was never hugged, never praised, never wanted. Why didn't you fight? I asked, tears streaming down my face. She whispered, I thought they'd love you better than I could. But they didn't love me at all. They tolerated me. They hid me in plain sight, treating me like a shameful secret while my sister, their real daughter, got everything. I'm so sorry, Tessa, Clara sobbed. I see you at family dinners and it kills me. Every single time. I wiped my eyes. Does anyone else know? Just your parents. And now you. I hung up and screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. I sat with that truth for 3 days. My father was also my uncle. And for 18 years they lied to my face. My entire life had been scripted to protect him. The golden lawyer. The clean-cut family man. And they dared to tell me I was the burden. It wasn't pity. It was damage control. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Maya brought me soup and sat with me in silence. She didn't know the full story yet, but she knew enough to be worried. You need to talk to them, she finally said. And say what? I shot back. Thanks for the 18 years of lies? But she was right. I needed to hear it from their mouths. I needed to watch them squirm. So I called my mom. My fake mom. My aunt. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice cold. What do you want, Tessa? I want the truth, I said. She went silent. Then, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't spread lies. I told her I had the DNA test. Proof. Evidence. She went completely quiet. Then she said something I'll never forget. Keep your mouth shut. You'll destroy us. I hit record the moment she said the word destroy. I checked our family's will online. My father kept a copy in his email and I still had access to the family computer. I wasn't on it. Not a dollar. Not a mention. Everything, the house, the savings, the family lake cabin, all going to my sister. Guess the pity didn't extend to inheritance. Then I found something even worse. My baby pictures. Only 2 of them were real. The rest? Photoshopped. They'd literally edited me into family vacations I was never on. I zoomed in on a beach photo. My head looked slightly too large. The lighting was off. In another photo, my shadow went the wrong direction. I pulled up the original files. Creation dates showed they were edited years after the supposed trips. My parents had built a fake history for me, creating proof of a happy childhood that never existed. Why go through all that trouble? To maintain the illusion. To have something to show social workers, relatives, anyone who asked questions. I downloaded everything onto a flash drive. Then I started digging deeper into my father's files. That's when I found the real birth certificate. My original one. Hidden in a folder labeled Tax Records 2006. My original birth certificate listed Clara as mother. Father, unknown. But there was another document underneath. A falsified birth certificate issued 3 months later. This one listed my mother as my mother, my father as my father. My father, being the lawyer he was, had pulled strings. Got someone at the county office to issue false documents. He'd committed fraud to make sure the incestuous affair never saw daylight. Falsifying government records is a felony. I knew that much from crime shows. I stared at both documents side by side. The real one. The fake one. My entire identity built on a lie and a crime. I took photos of everything. Then I called the one person who might actually help me. Mr. Peterson. My high school guidance counselor. He'd given me his card senior year and told me to call if I ever needed anything. He used to be a lawyer before he became a teacher. We met at a coffee shop. I showed him everything. He looked at me with sad eyes. Tessa, this is serious. You realize this could ruin him? I said, that's the point. He leaned back in his chair. What do you want to do? I want justice. I stopped confronting, started collecting. Every document, every file, every email. I built a folder thicker than a textbook. I didn't want revenge. I wanted precision. So I took a job. Entry level. Receptionist at a law firm downtown. Not my father's firm, a rival one. I needed to learn how the system worked. I watched, learned, took notes. The senior partners talked freely around me like I was furniture. I learned about subpoenas, depositions, evidence chains, statute of limitations. I learned that what my father did, falsifying birth records, had no statute of limitations in our state. I graduated early from high school. Honors. Full scholarship to community college for paralegal studies. My parents didn't come to the ceremony. Too busy, they said. But someone did. Clara, my real mother, stood in the back of the auditorium with flowers in her hand and tears in her eyes. After the crowd cleared, she hugged me tight, then handed me an envelope. When the time comes, use this, she whispered. Inside, a signed statement, dated, notarized. Her confession. The whole truth laid out in painful detail. I tucked it into my folder. I went home for dinner 6 months later. I smiled. I asked about work. I played dumb. My father beamed like I was finally maturing. My mother actually complimented my haircut. My sister showed me photos from her new apartment, the one they paid for. I told them I was applying for an internship at the district attorney's office. My father choked on his wine. My mother dropped her fork. The DIS office? My father repeated, his face pale. Yeah, I said cheerfully. I want to specialize in family law. Help kids in complicated situations. My sister rolled her eyes. So dramatic, Tessa. But my father wasn't laughing. His hands shook as he refilled his glass. I wiped my mouth and smiled sweetly. I've learned so much about falsified documents. It's fascinating how people think they can get away with it. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. I excused myself early, leaving them in thick silence. In my car, I let myself grin. The fear in their eyes was just the beginning. Turns out my father wasn't just a lawyer anymore. He was running for state judge. Platform, family values, integrity, community legacy. I laughed out loud when I saw the campaign posters plastered around town. His face smiling beside my mother and sister. Perfect family. Perfect lies. There was a campaign website. Testimonials. Photos. A whole section about protecting families through justice. I felt sick. This man, who'd committed incest, falsified government documents, and treated his own daughter like garbage, wanted to be a judge. And people were going to vote for him. Not if I had anything to say about it. I made a new email. anonymousdaughter247@protonmail.com. Then I started reaching out to journalists. Local ones first. I sent tips. Vague ones. Just enough to make them curious. One bit. Sarah Chin from the local newspaper. She'd written exposés before. She had a reputation for not backing down. We met in a parking garage. Very dramatic, but she insisted. I handed her a flash drive. Everything you need is on here. She looked at me carefully. Who are you? Nobody important, I said. Yet. I told Sarah to wait. Drop the story 2 days before the primary election. She agreed. The timing would be devastating. For 2 months I watched my father campaign. He shook hands. He kissed babies. He gave speeches about morality and justice. My mother stood beside him, playing the supportive wife. My sister posted glowing endorsements on social media. And I waited. The DNA test sat in my folder. Clara's notarized confession. The audio recording of my mother saying, "Destroy us." The falsified birth certificate. All of it ready to detonate. 2 days before the election, Sarah called me. It's going live in an hour. Are you sure about this? She explained how she was 19, scared and manipulated. How my father convinced her giving me up was best. How they paid for her silence. Then my sister took the stand. And turned on our parents. She admitted she'd known for 2 years. Overheard a conversation. She'd kept quiet out of fear and loyalty. But now, seeing the evidence, seeing me fight back, she couldn't stay silent anymore. They told me Tessa was adopted because she was unwanted, my sister said, her voice breaking. But that wasn't true. She was unwanted because she was inconvenient. The courtroom was silent. My father's lawyer tried to discredit her. But the documents spoke louder than any testimony. The judge, a stern woman with zero patience, reviewed everything. Then she ruled. Criminal fraud charges would proceed. My father lost his law license that day. His firm officially terminated him. Their house went into foreclosure. My father withdrew from public life completely. Lost his license. Lost his reputation. Lost everything. Their house was foreclosed within 6 months. Their savings, drained by legal fees. They had to move into a rental apartment 2 counties over. No more legacy. No more perfect family image. My sister reached out again a month later. Can we talk? In person. We met at a neutral coffee shop. She looked tired. Older. I'm sorry, she said immediately. For everything. For not protecting you. For being cruel. I stirred my coffee. You had 2 years to tell me the truth. I know. Tears filled her eyes. I was a coward. I was scared of losing them. And now. She laughed bitterly. Now I've lost them anyway. They blame me for testifying. I felt a flicker of sympathy. Just a flicker. What do you want from me? I asked. Forgiveness maybe. Or just understanding. I looked at her carefully. I don't forgive you. Not yet. But I don't hate you either. She nodded, wiping her eyes. That's more than I deserve. We finished our coffee in silence. I bought their house at auction. The settlement from the fraud case had been substantial. Plus, I'd been saving every penny from my job. They didn't even know until they saw my name on the deed. My father called me, rage in his voice. You can't do this. That's our home. Was your home, I corrected. You lost it. I bought it. Fair and square. This is cruel, Tessa. I laughed. Cruel? You falsified my birth certificate. You lied to me for 18 years. You told me I was adopted out of pity. But sure, I'm the cruel one. He hung up. I walked through every room. Haunted by memories I wanted to erase. I stood in the living room where they'd told me the truth. Where my sister had smirked. Where my world had shattered. Then I brought in a sledgehammer. First swing. My childhood bedroom wall. The drywall crumbled satisfyingly. Dust filled the air. I swung again and again, tearing down the walls that had trapped me. Behind the drywall, tucked in the insulation, I found a box. Inside the box, original birth records. Ultrasound photos with Clara's name on them. Letters between my aunt and my father discussing the situation. And one photo of my mother, my fake mother, staring straight into the camera. Dated 3 months before I was born. He knew. From the very beginning. She wasn't an innocent bystander. She'd orchestrated the whole cover-up. Convinced Clara to give me up. Paid for the falsified documents. I sat in the rubble of my demolished bedroom holding that photo and finally understood. My mother hadn't taken me in out of pity or family obligation. She'd taken me in to control the narrative. To bury the scandal. To protect her perfect life. And when I became inconvenient, when I grew up and started asking questions, she tried to erase me from the family altogether. I took the box of evidence and added it to my files. Then I called my lawyer. There was one more thing I needed to do. I gutted the house. Rebuilt it from the studs. Turned my old bedroom into an office. Painted the walls bright colors. Ripped up the carpet and installed hardwood floors. I erased every trace of them. Then I started law school part-time. I wanted to finish what I'd started. I wanted to help other kids in impossible situations. And I launched a non-profit, Second Chance Family Services. For children in illegal guardianships. For kids whose identities had been stolen or falsified. Claire helped me run it. She'd quit her job at my father's old firm and dedicated herself to making amends. We weren't a perfect mother-daughter duo. We were still learning each other. But we were trying. My sister donated money to the nonprofit. She couldn't undo the past, but she was trying to help build a better future. I didn't forgive easily, but I appreciated the effort. One afternoon my father showed up at the house. My house. I almost didn't answer the door. What do you want? I asked through the screen. To talk. Please. I let him stand on the porch. I didn't invite him in. He looked broken. Gray hair. Tired eyes. Shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. I crossed my arms. You're sorry you got caught. No. I'm sorry for what I did. To Clara. To you. I studied his face looking for lies. But I only saw exhaustion. You treated me like garbage for 18 years, I said. You made me believe I was worthless. I know. You told me I was adopted out of pity. You erased me from the will. You let my sister mock me. I know, he repeated, voice breaking. Then why? I demanded. Why do all that if you're so sorry now? He wiped his eyes. Because I was ashamed. Of what I'd done. Of who I was. And you were a reminder of my worst mistake. The words hit me like a punch. I was never a mistake, I said, my voice shaking. What you did was a mistake. But I'm not. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. You're right. I'm sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, I don't forgive you. Maybe I never will. But I don't need your apology to move forward. I closed the door. I stood on the porch later that evening. Morning sun. Fresh paint. New beginnings. They'd said I was adopted out of pity. Said I didn't belong. Said I was a mistake. No. I owned their house. I'd exposed their lies. I'd built a life on my own terms. I'd never contacted them again after that conversation. Never will. Some endings don't need closure. Just a locked door and the strength to walk away. Maya pulled up in her car honking. You ready for class? I grabbed my backpack, law textbooks inside, and smiled. Yeah. Let's go. As we drove away, I looked back at the house one last time. It didn't haunt me anymore. It was just a building. And I was finally free. Law school was harder than I expected. But I loved every minute. I specialized in family law just like I'd promised myself. I wanted to help kids who'd been lied to, manipulated, or erased. During my second year, I took on my first case as a student advocate. A 12-year-old girl whose guardianship papers had been forged. I saw myself in her eyes. The confusion. The hurt. The desperate need for truth. We won her case. She was placed with her real grandmother who'd been searching for her for years. When the judge announced the ruling, the girl hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Thank you, she whispered. I cried in the courthouse bathroom afterward. Happy tears for once. Claire met me for dinner that night. We talked about the case. About my classes. About her new job at a nonprofit similar to mine. I'm proud of you, she said. I smiled. I'm proud of us. We still had hard days. Therapy appointments. Difficult conversations. But we were building something real. Something honest. My sister graduated college and moved across the country. We texted sometimes. Short messages. Updates. Slow steps toward something that might eventually be forgiveness. She sent me a card on my birthday. Inside she'd written, You deserved better. I should have been better. I'm sorry. I tucked it into my desk drawer. Maybe one day we'd be close again. Maybe not. But I wasn't angry anymore. I ran into my mother once at a grocery store. She pretended not to see me. I didn't stop her. Some people don't deserve your energy. My father sent me a letter on the anniversary of the trial. It was short. I understand if you never want to hear from me. But I want you to know I'm getting help. I'm trying to be better. Not for forgiveness. Just because it's right. I didn't respond. But I didn't throw the letter away either. I kept it in the box with all the other evidence. A reminder of where I'd come from. And how far I'd traveled. Today I'm 25. I passed the bar exam last month. I work full-time at my nonprofit helping kids find their real families. I bought Claire a house near mine. We have dinner every Sunday. We talk about everything, the past, the present, the future. He's teaching me to cook. I'm teaching her about legal codes. We laugh more than we cry now. The house I rebuilt stands strong. I added a garden in the backyard. Flowers everywhere. Bright colors. Life. Sometimes I stand on that porch and think about the girl I was at 18. Broken. Lost. Desperate for answers. I wish I could tell her, you're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be whole. They told me I was adopted out of pity. That I was a burden. A spare part. A mistake. But I was never a mistake. I was the truth they tried to bury. And I dug myself out. Some stories don't end with perfect families or happy reunions. Some stories end with you standing alone realizing you're enough. And that's exactly where mine begins.